The biggest X factor in the Western Conference this upcoming season is the Portland Trailblazers, a team that is overloaded with talent but equally overloaded with off-court storylines. But I am highly optimistic about what this team can accomplish in a Western Conference that I feel like is a little diminished from where it's been in years past. This team has one of the best backcourts in the entire NBA, and also a young center in Donovan Clingan, who I love the direction that he is headed in his career. He's a huge body, averaged 12, and 2 blocks last year. And I think this Portland Trailblazers will have the ability to make the NBA playoffs this upcoming season and be a really tough out in the first or second round for any team. We saw them last year. Going into the season, Chauncey Billups, their head coach, got caught up in a little bit of an alleged gambling scheme. We're not going to get into, the details of that. But then they also were under new ownership in Tom Dundon. And Tiago Splitter takes over the head coaching job for this organization. They get off to a little bit of a slow start, but towards the end of the season, you start to see them really get into a rhythm. You have players like Scoot Henderson, who felt like he was starting to take steps forward. Drew Holiday is just such a glue guy and will automatically raise your floor for any team in the NBA. He's been such a good player in the NBA for so long. Again, Donovan Clingan taking that step forward. But Deni Avdija, their all-star player, averaging 24, 7, and 7 last year, is the main reason that this team was able to accomplish what it was last year. And now if you're putting him alongside even more talent this upcoming season, which the Portland Trailblazers have done, I think this team is very, very dangerous. The backcourt, you're bringing back Damian Lillard. Obviously, he was on the roster last year, but he was out with an Achilles injury. You're bringing him back, one of the best players in the history of your organization, one of the fan favorites, really across the NBA, but in particular with Portland fans. Bringing him back, really stretching the floor, his ability to lead, his ability to shoot the basketball, and it'll be interesting to see how his explosiveness looks coming off that Achilles injury. But I love that addition and him coming back to the Portland Trailblazers. Alongside him, their blockbuster trade for Ja Morant, one of the most explosive players in the NBA, has dealt with some off the court, let's say drama over the last few years, dealt with some injuries. But when he was healthy and playing, he led the Memphis Grizzlies to, I believe, the 2 seed in the Western Conference, played really well in the playoffs, and was a really competitive playoff basketball player. And I'm optimistic about what he'll be able to do because you're putting him alongside veteran guards Damian Lillard and Drew Holiday. And that will have so much value for a guy like Ja Morant, who probably just needs a little bit of maturing to really optimize his talent at the NBA level. Play the game the right way, take care of his body the right way, and just get in the right state of mind to compete at the highest level in the NBA. Because sometimes that Memphis Grizzlies team felt like there was a lot going on as far as personalities, as far as maybe a little bit of cockiness from time to time, and that wasn't just Ja Morant. So putting him alongside mature basketball players who play basketball the right way, I think will be really valuable for the development of his career. But not only those two guys, the depth they have with Scoot Henderson, like I said, a guy who kind of felt like he was starting to take a step forward. Last year had a really good playoff game. Obviously missed a lot of the season, but averaged 14 points a game. And as he continues to develop, I think he'll add some value off the bench. And Drew Holiday, who is just one of the most stable veteran guards in the entire league. He did great things with the Milwaukee Bucks, New Orleans Pelicans, Boston Celtics. He has done so many great things for so many organizations, and I think he'll continue to do that for the Portland Trailblazers. But getting into Deni Avdija, a player who it is incredible the steps forward he's taken. I think this is one of the biggest indictments of the Washington Wizards front office, the fact that they did not see what they had in this player, because his ability to score the basketball in so many different ways. He rebounds the ball, he passes the basketball, and he's a really easy, in my opinion, guy to play alongside. So he won't demand the basketball too much. He'll pass the ball and move the ball. It's not too ISO heavy. I think that him alongside Damian Lillard, Ja Morant, Deni Avdija will be a really, really solid pairing. And what's great about the way that this team is structured is that Donovan Clingan, their center, doesn't require the basketball a ton to provide a ton of value. We know he's a huge player. He's 7'1", 7'2", very tall. I'll pull it up right now. Donovan Clingan is listed as 7'2". We know he's a huge basketball player, huge presence in the post, defensively will provide problems. One of the best players you can have to defend Victor Wembanyama and his length and size, which is valuable when you're talking about the landscape of the Western Conference. But him playing alongside those three guys who can score the basketball, who can pass the basketball, because Damian Lillard's a good passer, Ja Morant's a good passer, and Deni Avdija is a good passer. So this basketball should move. They should play basketball the right way, and I'm really excited to watch that starting lineup. And my guess would be that they have Toumani Camara as their other starting player, but maybe, they have Shaedon Sharpe, they have Drew Holiday. We'll see how they decide to finish out that roster, and they have Rob Williams as their backup big man, a player who, if he can stay on the court, is really explosive in the lob game, can play defense. Little bit of a smaller center, but you're talking about a team that can go 9 guys deep. They obviously lose Jeremy Grant. They lose Matisse Thybulle, who didn't really do much for him last year anyway, Chris Murray, and they brought in Jeremy Sochan. This Portland Trailblazers team will really come down to how can Coach Micah Nori, a guy who's been in the NBA for a long time, the first head coaching opportunity, is on a 1-year contract, which we'll get into some of this owner stuff here in a minute, but he's on a 1-year contract. How will he be able to utilize all these guards to maximize their potential to compete in the Western Conference and once we get to the playoffs? Because I think this Portland Trailblazers team should make the playoffs, assuming health, which you can say with any team in the NBA, but particularly Dame coming off that Achilles injury and Ja Morant struggling with health. It is something that I think is an important disclaimer with this team. But how will he be able to utilize the lineups correctly together to keep this team competitive when guys are coming off the court and guys are sitting out games, and you have to mix and match the different talents on this roster? Because like I said, talent is not an issue. They're ranked 8th in the NBA in 2K and overall, which, you don't look at 2K overall as that important, but it is something that I think is noteworthy to show how much talent is on this roster. So as we go into next season, how will Micah Nori be able to utilize all his players, all his skill sets, and all his personalities? That is the big question mark. Now, getting into some of the things that could derail the Portland Trailblazers, to me, is more of the off-court stuff. There's question marks right now with what is Tom Dundon going to do with this organization. He's wanting money from the city of Portland to, do some revamps to the arena. And it sounds like there's almost like a threat that they could leave Portland, which I really hope they don't do. Portland has some of the best fans in the NBA, one of the best fan bases. It's just a really historic franchise. You think back to their times in the NBA Finals playing against Michael Jordan with Clyde Drexler, all those guys. This is just a historic franchise that we want to see stay in Portland. I hate to see teams leave cities. If we're going to expand, but I hate to see teams leave cities that have passionate fan bases. So I hope that none of that happens. The owner has really made a ton of moves that shows he doesn't care about press. He did a lot of layoffs. Little things like not doing shirts for playoff games, not paying for everyone to go to road games. It'll be very interesting to see if any of that kind of derails the direction of this organization. Now, Micah Nori could end up being a really good coach, but the best way to get a good coach is not by offering them a 1-year contract. Everyone in this world wants some job security and some, a little more long-term outlook that, I'm going to have more than 1 year to try to figure this thing out. Because if we kind of struggle at times, if we have an injury, does that put Micah Nori in a position where he could be fired after 1 year just because their team suffered a devastating injury? I just don't really like, that mindset by Tom Dundon and kind of what he's done with this organization. But what's interesting in the NBA right now is a lot of teams are selling. We saw the Boston Celtics sell recently. We saw the Lakers sell twice. The Suns sold in recent years. The Portland Trailblazers obviously sold. The Dallas Mavericks sold. Mark Cuban sold them. The NBA is becoming a little bit of an interesting place with all these new owners taking over, and some of their mindsets for how they're going to run a team and an organization is a little different. It's just very interesting because the way that you run a business versus a basketball organization are two very different things. But these rich billionaires sometimes have so much arrogance and have done things the same way for so long that's worked for them. That's why they have that much money and that much success a lot of times. So it's hard to tell those guys that they're doing something wrong. It's hard to question them. And a lot of times they don't have people around them that, will advise them and that they'll listen to their advice. So it'll be interesting to see if that derails anything for the Portland Trailblazers. But if that off-court stuff, the ownership, the moving cities, if all that does not bother this team, I think the Portland Trailblazers could be one of the best teams in the Western Conference, could be highly competitive in the playoffs and take a huge step forward. But I could not be more excited to watch this team play. It has incredible storylines on the court. Damian Lillard coming back. Ja Morant, how will he be able to return to form? Deni Avdija, will he take a step forward? Your big men, Donovan Clingan, Rob Williams, playing alongside that backcourt. I can't wait to watch the Portland Trailblazers play. They're one of the most exciting teams in the NBA for this upcoming year. That is all we got for you today. If you love the NBA, make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all watching. Saborgal.